It's noon here in Ventnor City, New Jersey, and our nation's capital, Washington, D.C., home of the Northeast Track Club. And this is CarEdge Live for Monday, July 21st, with your hosts, me, Ray, and, well, my handsome son representing the Northeast Track Club of Washington, D.C. How are you today, handsome?
Last day is a 29-year-old, folks. Tomorrow's my 30th birthday. We've got a special show in store for you then. Thank you in advance for promising to tune in. Today's show, we've got a sponsor, our friends over at DeleteMe. We'll talk about them in about 10 minutes. And a friendly reminder, folks, CarEdge.com. We are on almost year 6 of building this business. Buy a car without the headache. Check it out. Learn more back at CarEdge.com. And the big thing from last week, y'all, the test is still running.
Yes.
Back on CarEdge.com. We are doing 30% off for CarEdge Insights and our car buying services in response to my 30th birthday. But folks, we've got our AI negotiator that you can play around with. If you go to the car search, shop new or shop used, or if you've added vehicles already to your negotiation dashboard, you can have AI, CarEdge AI, do the dealer outreach, contact the dealer on your behalf, as well as send all these messages to the dealership. So all sorts of cool stuff there, protects your identity. Your contact info isn't going to the dealer. Instead, our alias, the AI, will be talking to the dealer for you. Check it out, play around with it, share your feedback with us. The big story this morning, Dad.
Yes.
Stellantis spirals into catastrophe. And I don't think that's hyperbolic. Stellantis sees first half loss of $2.7 billion, hit by tariffs and restructuring. You just asked me a question before we jumped on here. What magnitude of swing was this year over year for Stellantis? They lost $2.7 billion. What did they make the year before, Dad, in this time period?
$6.5 billion. You know, as I always say, Zach, I am not good at math, but if you were to add those two numbers together, you would come up with a $9.2 billion swing in financial activity for that company. That's not going south leisurely. That's like taking a rocket ship to the center of the earth. I mean, my goodness gracious. By the time they're done, by the time Stellantis is done with this, that rocket ship's coming out in China or something. I mean, that is an insane swing of fortunes. And the really good news is the person who oversaw this swing, the start of the swing, was perhaps of all of the big 3 auto manufacturers, the highest paid executive amongst them, Carlos Tavares, because he figured out a way for Stellantis to make more money than ever before until they figured out a way by pricing their vehicles out of the public's reach, how to make that go from making more money than any other to, hey, we're losing it faster than we ever thought was humanly possible.
The CEO who led the company during that time, Carlos Tavares, made nearly $40 million in 2023. And yeah, Dad, a $9+ billion swing in output from this organization. And I really want to dive into it because tariffs are only the tip of the iceberg. Part. Yeah, exactly. Tariffs have actually cost Stellantis about 300 million euros. So about, I don't know, let's do the math. Maybe that's like $400 million, if that. So 400 million out of a $2.7 billion loss is a significant amount, but it's not the end all be all. What's really interesting, Dad, and what seems to be driving down the profitability at Stellantis the most would be 2 things. One is the number of vehicles that are actually being shipped to their dealers.
Yes.
Because remember, the manufacturer makes money when they wholesale the vehicles to their dealers. Here in the United States, North America, those shipments have declined 25% year on year in the second quarter. So fewer vehicles being sold to dealers, distributors, or retail and fleet customers, a 25% drop in performance there. And the other thing, Dad, which is costing Stellantis a heck of a lot of money, let me scroll down here, right here. Stellantis said it booked a $3.3 billion in pre-tax charges for the first half as it canceled vehicle programs, including a hydrogen fuel cell project, while investing more in popular hybrid cars in Europe and large gasoline-powered models in the US. A 3.3 billion euro charge to write off investments in canceled vehicle programs. The two biggest things impacting this brand right now, and what are sending them into that rocket ship towards Earth's core, to your point, Dad, would be the fact that 25% fewer vehicles are being distributed, and they have to write off 3.3 billion euros worth of costs for programs that have been canceled for future vehicles.
And they have had to still continue to incentivize the sale of the Stellantis products in this country to a much higher degree than their competitors. So that the cost of not only the cost to bring their vehicles to market, but the cost to actually sell those vehicles in this market, because their vehicles are so overpriced in comparison to what they had been. Because if I remember correctly, when we first started tracking car price inflation,
Yeah.
that Stellantis's products as a whole went up over 50%. The MSRPs increased by more than 50% when inflation had only been around 23%. So they made a conscious decision to continue to raise prices until they raised the prices to the point that they priced their customers out of purchasing their vehicles. And it's coming back to haunt them today. And I used to, and we used to affectionately refer to Stellantis as the lost continent of Stellantis, the play on the lost continent of Atlantis.
Yep.
Well, guess what? It looks like it very well might end up being the lost continent of Stellantis if they continue down the path they're on.
Which, Dad, to be clear, they are actually intentionally distributing fewer vehicles to their partners because they're trying to regain some of that pricing power. You don't have to look that far, folks. Let's do a live little, experiment on the CarEdge machine. I'm over on the CarEdge car search. This is the first page. It's got my zip code set to near where my dad is in Brigantine, New Jersey. And the only filter I have is for new Rams.
Yes.
I'm looking nationwide. And here are the first two entries on the car search. The first one is a 2024 Ram 2500 Tradesman that has been at this dealer's lot, Atlantic Jeep, Dodge, Ram, Chrysler, and Fiat in Egg Harbor Township, Dad, for 442 days with a $72,170 MSRP. The one right next to it is a 2025 1500 pickup, the Bighorn Lone Star, 135 days on the market, $61,645. Those are just the first two results right here. And I think they demonstrate clearly what's going on for a brand like Ram, one of many in the Stellantis portfolio. They're just expensive and they're sitting like boat anchors. So what does the corporate entity have to do? They have to restrict the amount of vehicles going out. That shows up on their bottom line.
Oh, absolutely. It is. They are drowning in their own incompetence at the moment.
Yeah.
And their new CEO Alberto Fialosa, I believe his name is. I mean, he's trying desperately, obviously, to turn things around. It is not going to be easy. There's two major manufacturers that have new heads, Nissan and Stellantis. And neither one of these new CEOs is going to have an easy task of it trying to turn those manufacturers around. The decisions that were made in 2021, 2022, 2023, 2024 are still killing them today. That's how bad those decisions were. I get it during the pandemic when there was a shortage of cars and everybody was charging an additional dealer markup to those people who insisted upon buying something when there was a shortage.
Yep.
But that gave the manufacturers this false sense of security that they could just keep raising the prices and only producing the high profit margin, high priced vehicles. And now for both Nissan and Stellantis, that thinking is coming back to bite them in the butt. And for Nissan, it was a $4.5 billion loss.
Yep.
For Stellantis is a $2.7 billion loss.
Just for the first half. That Nissan's loss was for the whole year. Yeah,
yes.
This is just the first half. Yeah.
Those are staggering sums of money. I would be happy with 1% of either of those. And I believe I could live, well, I do live comfortably now, but I believe I could live extravagantly.
Pops, we got to take a moment and thank the sponsor of today's program, our friends over at DeleteMe. Folks, data brokers are out there selling your information online, and anyone can buy it. Things like your phone number, your home address, and your social security number are being sold online and so much more. They're available to marketers, scammers, and
everyone in between.
All right, folks, that's where DeleteMe comes into play. My dad and I both use DeleteMe. We have our accounts. They send us reports every single month. DeleteMe helps you take control over your data and actually remove your personal information from hundreds of data brokers on your behalf. Now, for the CarEdge community, you can get 20% off with the coupon code CarEdge. Just go to joindeleteme.com/CarEdge or click the link in the top of the description down below. And you can see just this month in July, DeleteMe has removed my personal information from 40 new listings. I really appreciate the great work that DeleteMe does, and we thank them for their continued sponsorship of this program. Folks, if you're not using DeleteMe, you absolutely should use that promo code. Take advantage of it. Now, Dad.
I am just thrilled that they have figured out who everyone in between is, and they're taking care of that.
Dad, back to your comment here. These decisions were made in the past, and they're having major implications now. Yeah. The more recent decisions from Stellantis, things like bringing back the V8 Hemi engine or the 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain warranty, these are recent decisions from, in this case, Ram, that should have a positive impact for the manufacturer. But it means a few more years, I think, of pain over there for Stellantis. And they're struggling not only here in the United States, it's in particular in the United States, but it's global as well. And so there's a bumpy road back from for many of these automakers. Stellantis is one of them. Nissan's another. We talked about Volvo last week as they trim down their product lineup. It's just we're watching in real time what will inevitably become like Harvard Business School case studies of how the auto industry consolidated, evolved, etc. as a result of some really bad decisions made in 19, 20, 21, 22.
Here's a question, and folks need to understand. The prep for this show is Zach gets on about a minute and a half before the show starts. So that's the prep. We often mention that we think there'll be consolidation within automotive.
Yeah.
At what point do you suppose that who do you think is going to be the one that buys up these failing companies? Is it going to be companies like Tesla, BYD? Is it going to be some large EV automobile manufacturers? Because that, to me, is really going to be what should be very interesting moving forward, because it's almost as if, as we're watching Stellantis implode, as we're watching Nissan implode, as we're watching Volvo to a certain degree implode. We keep thinking there's going to be consolidation, but in the legacy automotive manufacturers, realistically, who the hell's going to be left to go, we should buy them, or we should buy this one, or we should buy that one?
So here's the deal, folks. Stellantis has almost $40 billion in cash on their balance sheet. Okay, so last quarter, or excuse me, in the first half of the year, Stellantis lost, from a cash perspective, 2.3 billion euros. So let's do the euros to USD. 1 second. Join me over here.
2.7 billion.
2.3. So yeah, 2.7. They lost $2.7 billion in cash, which is 1/18th of the amount of cash they have on
nothing.
It's next to nothing still. Yes. And so this company will exist for a long, long time. We talk about Volkswagen as well, struggling mightily for the first time, doing layoffs at their production facilities. That's another one. So I'm not even sure if another entity has to come in, so much as the ways that these organizations operate will change dramatically. And I think, again, that's what we're already starting to see, or some more aggressive behaviors from a marketing perspective, or on the warranty side. I mean, that's going to cost Ram money, but they have to take some bigger swings to regain market share. And some of those big swings do include, Dad, continue to include shutting down manufacturing plants. There's another story this morning from Nissan. Nissan shutting Mexico plant. That was the company's first outside of Japan by early 2027. Nissan's also dissolving a joint venture in Mexico with Mercedes-Benz. So another example here, Dad, of consolidation, of trying to cut costs, trying to restrict and be more thoughtful around production. I mean, there is some serious concern for these two automakers, and I would even throw Volkswagen into the mix as well. You've got three major automakers. Put Volvo with Geely in another category for the time being, and put Jaguar in another category for the time being. You've got three automakers here with Stellantis taking a rocket ship into Earth's core. You've got Nissan, who lost 90% of their whole operating margin last year, and in one quarter, 99% of their profits evaporated. And you've got Volkswagen, who has 4 of the top 5 slowest selling cars in the US right now and needing government assistance in Europe to maintain all of their production capabilities. What do you make of this news from Nissan? Comes on the heels of another Nissan plant being shut down in Japan last week.
Well, this was part of Ivan Espinosa's plan, was to cut down excess manufacturing capabilities and close facilities. It wasn't as if he said it and he didn't mean it. And he's
what was the
proving
stat that it was like Nissan had the capacity, or was operating at what, like 60% of their overall production? Yeah, what was it? Do you remember that stat? I'll try and find it.
It was around 50% of the worldwide production capacity is what they were operating at. Well, it's hard to make a production facility profitable when you're operating at 50% of what it could be doing. So how do you increase the percentage of production? You close down other plants so that you have to move the production to some other plant. So, I mean, obviously, that's what they're trying to do with their facilities here in the United States. There's just so many things. It is a perfect storm between a slowdown in sales due to at least in North America, EVs not selling as rapidly as everybody thought they would, with tariffs going up. This has been like a perfect storm that is hitting these manufacturers with higher interest rates and everything else, where they realistically have to look at what they're doing and how they're doing it and then make adjustments. And we've said it before, these are like big ships.
Yeah.
And you can't just say make a quick right turn. The quick right turn might take 20 miles of going through the sea and turning to the right. So it takes a long time for them to make adjustments. And in Nissan's case, there isn't enough cash on hand. I mean, they've admitted that they don't have enough cash on hand. They're actually closing plants and looking to sell valuable real estate in order to raise the capital.
Real estate as well as equity in other automakers. They've sold their equity stake in other automakers to get cash. Yeah.
Yeah. So, Stellantis might have $38.5 billion of cash or cash equivalents on hand. Nissan might have $500 million. And my point was going to be that even at $38.5 billion, you would be surprised as to how quickly that can evaporate when the poop hits the fan.
Nissan's got almost $15 billion in cash. I just want to set the record straight. That's from March 2025. At least that's what happens when you do a quick Google search, folks.
Yes.
So Nissan's got some money, but Dad, the plan all along, to your point, has been to consolidate. So the new CEO, Espinosa, outlined steps back in May to talk about going from 17 manufacturing plants globally to 10. And that's to be done by March 31st, 2028. Well, they're quickly on their way there. We've seen 2 big ones, obviously,
Yes.
The one here in Mexico, as well as the Opama plant back in Japan. And I think the other thing that's important about this is they're dissolving their joint venture with Mercedes, which was crossover production in Mexico, to no longer do that at the end of this year. Nissan will end production of the 2 Infiniti crossovers that they make there late in 2025, and Mercedes will stop their GLB production in the first quarter of next year. So you've got some really big impacts here. Production stopping.
And so you have some plants that are either going to be closed or really underutilized. And the conjecture in the article was, well, perhaps some Chinese EV manufacturers, BYD, for instance, might come in and take a look at these facilities and go, this would be a good facility to purchase so that we can purchase it. Even if we can't ship the cars to the United States, we can be purchasing cars or producing cars in North America that we can ship into Latin America and Central America and South America. So this could give a couple of the Chinese manufacturers a foothold for their North American manufacturing facilities.
Yeah, you can see here one of the leaders at Auto Forecast Solutions, one of their vice presidents, is saying it would be an economical first step to local production for a Chinese automaker. So you can see that line right there. So yeah, really interesting times and a bit of a changing of the guard seemingly happening here in the auto industry between this Stellantis story and obviously this Nissan story. Let's come here, Dad, to the chat for a couple minutes. Lou reminding us, yeah, Ram is changing things up with the 10-year, 100,000 mile powertrain warranty for 2026 and beyond. Yeah, so absolutely taking some big swings to try and win back some new customers. And from Joe, appreciate the kind contribution. Joe, Atlantic is a Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Volkswagen, and Fiat dealer. Yikes. I mean, Dad, you and I have driven past that dealership for years.
Yes.
On the Black Horse Pike. And man,
on Tilton Road.
On Tilton Road, excuse me.
Yes.
The fact that they have a Volkswagen dealership too is just like, it doesn't get any worse than that right now.
I remember walking their lots on a Sunday one time and just, we were actually watching some VW EVs procreate in front of our very eyes. I mean, inventory was it was popping up everywhere. And I remember that dealership from years and years and years ago. I don't know how many owners it's gone through since I first worked in this area, but it is, they have some brands that are some tough brands to deal with, and wish them luck.
Now, Dad, I want to remind everyone the new latest and greatest thing that we're experimenting with back at CarEdge.com that you can use too is our AI negotiator. So if I come here to the CarEdge car search, let's say I'm interested in this new 2025 BMW 3 Series. This one's in transit. Let's do this one right here. I can now click on a button that says negotiate this for me. It fades into my little active negotiations up here. If I click on that, Dad, if I load this page, I can now see, let me sort this really quickly. BMW of Atlantic City. I've got an active negotiation for a BMW 3 Series. And what's great about this, Dad, is that a message just got sent to that dealership using anonymous information. So it's not my email address, not my phone number. CarEdge creates an alias for you. And the message that the AI sent was, hey there, my name's Zach, and I'm local to the area. I'm looking for a gray 2025. I'm looking at the gray 2025 BMW 330i you've got. Puts the VIN in there. It's been on your lot for a few days now, and I'd be happy to take it off your hands if we can work out a solid price. Could you email me an out-the-door price sheet for it? Just want to see all the numbers, discounts, taxes, fees, everything before making any moves. Appreciate it. This AI stuff, man, is so cool. Dozens of times now, Dad, since we've launched this, we've been able to save customers money. And all they had was the AI running behind the scenes doing it for them. It is so freaking cool. You can see a little bit of a back and forth here in this particular email exchange. So cool, Dad, to see this working. Really, really, really cool. So you can see here, actually.
Wow.
Yeah, just keeps going back and forth. Even today, it continues to go back and forth. This is actually a perfect example, y'all. We reached out on Thursday asking for an OTD. Got a reply. Replied back saying, okay, give us the OTD. Got a video. Replied back and said, can you still send us the OTD? Got another video. Replied back and said, can you please give us an OTD? Got a thank you for choosing Ford and requesting vehicle information online. We'd love to hear your experience. So rating your experience. Sent another email this morning just asking for the OTD price. So there you go, folks. So cool to see us using this technology for good.
And may I say one thing? When you look at that email chain,
which is hilarious.
Well, what's hilarious is that many dealers out there will tell you that they make it as easy as possible for customers. And you know me, I'm a glutton for punishment, so I read the comments to a lot of our videos and stuff. And the comments from salespeople always are, well, we ask the questions because we better want to help our customers. No, you want to better set yourself up so you can maximize your gross profit, because your pay plan is based on a commission, a percentage of the growth. And there's nothing wrong with that. Okay. What shows that the industry is broken is that we have had to ask, I believe that's 5 or 6 times since Thursday, hey, you can help by sending me the out the door price that I've requested. And at some point, and I get why dealerships do it, but at some point, dealerships and the industry need to honor the requests of their potential customers. If your customer is telling you, in order for me to do business with you, I need you to provide me with the out the door price, then provide them with that. Because if you do, my guess is you'll be the only dealership that did. And that will score points for you with that potential customer rather than making the customer fight like our AI agent has been trying to fight to get it. So it's
It's so interesting, man. So anyway, I wanted to bring it up. We're still experimenting with it. That's all this is right now, is an experiment. You can get your hands on it, play around with it, and I'll obviously keep sharing updates. But I agree with you, Dad. There's a huge amount of change happening right now at the automaker level, and that's what we're covering in today's show, right? Nissan,
yes.
Stellantis. We'll do another show, I'm sure, soon about what's going on at Volkswagen. We continue to stay up to date with the latest news. There's also change happening in how people shop and how people
Yes.
search for information, and we hope to, inspire part of that change here in the auto industry. And the first thing that we've done with AI is put it in the hands of our community, so you can be at work and your agent's the one doing the outreach.
Asleep.
What was that? You could be asleep.
Be asleep.
Yeah.
Okay, you could be under anesthesia having an operation, and before you wake up from the operation, which was 100% successful, by the way, it turns out you bought a car.
Anyway, folks, check it out back on the CarEdge car search. Dad, let's turn our attention over to a really disappointing and sad situation. Let's talk about this, Dad. This was in my direct messages over on TikTok, and I posted it over on Twitter. Let's just spend a couple minutes talking about this. So I received this message, and this message said, stuck with $33,000 in negative equity on my vehicle. Any suggestions how to get rid of it? Super bad credit, around 517. You and I have been talking ad nauseum about the challenges that are faced in today's market with being upside down, getting loan approvals when you really shouldn't be getting loan approvals, things like that. What is someone who's $33,000 upside down and with a bad credit score? What do they do, Dad? What do you do if you're in this situation?
You sit them down and you have a come to Jesus chat. Okay. There's a reason that you have $33,000 in negative equity. And there's a reason that you have super bad credit around a 517 FICO score. So the reason is that you haven't handled your credit obligations in the past very well, and you have fallen prey to, I always want to have something better, as opposed to just keeping what it is that you have. So what would my suggestion be is, A, you need to look yourself in the mirror and say, I got myself in this situation. The only way legitimately that I can get myself out of this situation is to make the payments on time, every time, until the loan is paid off. Okay, you are not going to be able to take $33,000 of negative equity with a 517 FICO score and, I don't know, bury that in your next car. Maybe you're thinking to yourself, well, maybe I need to look at a $10,000 car. Well, suddenly that $10,000 car is a $43,000 car because of your negative equity. And if it's only worth 10, the bank's not going to lend you 43. So it is, for a customer like this, it is time to bite the bullet, understand the mistakes that you've made, live with the mistake that you made, and get out of that mistake by paying it off in a timely fashion so that you can build up your credit score and save some extra money so that when it's done, you can go out and buy yourself something. But stop trying to compound the situation that you've put yourself in.
I think very simply put, you just have to drive it into the ground. You have to pay it off and drive it into the ground. However you got into the situation you're in, put that to the side for a second. Whatever you want to do, put that to a side, want versus need. you are going to drive whatever car you currently have until it no longer runs, because you either have to show up with $33,000 to get yourself out
Or
of that
more.
negative equity or more, or you're going to enjoy your car payment for the foreseeable future and get transportation from point A to point B. That's it. Either you have the money or you don't.
Well, it is a shining example of another reminder of why we should do our best to try to live within our means. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't reward yourself occasionally. I'm not saying you shouldn't stretch for things occasionally. But I'm saying that you need to really look at it and make an intelligent decision as to whether or not it's something to stretch for. I remember for years, I could see that I would stretch for a home because typically homes appreciate in value over time. You don't stretch for a car. Cars don't appreciate in value. They depreciate in value. So you have to, I'm not saying don't stretch for things, stretch for the right things, and just be conservative in what it is that you're trying to do moving forward.
Yeah, with cars especially. And just because the bank can get you approved doesn't mean you take that.
Well, and the finance manager is going to look at you and say, you don't think the bank would have approved you for this loan if they didn't think you could make the payments, do you? So they give you this false sense of security that, well, the bank thinks I could make the payments. They're just selling you. Okay, yeah. The F&I guys or gal, just selling you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and if you don't have gap insurance, if you got gap insurance, you can maybe...
Yeah, gap insurance might not cover $33,000 worth of negative.
What's the max?
150, 150%.
Meaning that 150% of the loan value is
of
what,
the
or
value.
the vehicle value of the vehicle value is what the gap insurance would pay out. So I mean, even with gap insurance, you're kind of SOL in that situation where you're that upside down on your car loan. Folks, subscribe here to the CarEdge live channel so you can tune in every single day. We appreciate it. Over 100,000 subscribers is incredible. We greatly appreciate that. And check out CarEdge.com as well. Some of the things we demoed today back on the CarEdge car search, as well as 30% off to celebrate my birthday, my 30th birthday tomorrow. CarEdge insights in our car buying services, everything 30% off there. It's a fun time of year, July, when I get to celebrate my birthday. We celebrated last year, and obviously we're doing it again this year. It feels special. This one being 30, Dad, feels like a big one. So please, folks, check out what we've got back at CarEdge.com and let us help you and help us as well. Continue to share your feedback, what we can be doing better. It makes us even better, which we appreciate.
Your Uncle Kenny and I were talking about that last night, that we said it can't really be 30 years. It just can't be, because, well, it seems like yesterday. Yeah. And yesterday was 30 years ago.
I was looking at some photos of me. I was like, okay, I actually am starting to look a little bit older. I still look young, but I'm looking a little bit older. So
it's catching up to you.
Just a little bit. Yeah, hopefully in all the right ways.
Yes.
Folks, tune in tomorrow. It'll be fun to celebrate my birthday with you. Check out CarEdge.com. And Dad, enjoy a relaxing Monday afternoon.
That's my plan. The hard labor is probably going to require a nap on the balcony a little later. So, yeah.
And folks, check out DeleteMe, the sponsor of today's show. Link in the top of the description. Love you, Pops. Be back here tomorrow.
Love you too, handsome. I can't wait.